My name's Amanda, and this is Wellness Me Up. It's going to be where we are talking about weird, wise, wildly supportive sides of wellness with coaches that you can actually connect with when you are done pretending that everything is fine. Today, I am joined by Amanda Kirkland. Amanda is trauma conscious with a master practitioner level certification in transformational coaching, has a bunch of other cool things too underneath her, like evolved neuro-linguistic programming, quantum time release, quantum change process levels, hypnotherapy, social impact awareness. I'm just reading all of these things. American Association of Wellness Practitioners. It's amazing. And so actually, and spoiler alert, I know Amanda very well. And if you can still see the eyes of listening, that's because we were having a chat before this, and Amanda already had me in tears just doing what she does, and then brings me back feeling good and fuzzy and all of the things. So now I'm able to actually talk and introduce her. But squirreling, before Amanda came onto the show, I asked her to just sum up wellness in just a couple, just in a sentence. And this is what she said: I meet my clients in their version of the world. So today we are going to see if what Amanda has to say can help you get a little bit more wellnessed up. See, there we are. And I'm feeling better. I only had to snot once, like after the cry with you. So this is good. Yeah, I'm feeling
That's
better.
so funny. You know what? I didn't realize that's what I'd given you as what wellness me up to me meant. And that was literally the last thing I said to you when we were just having our conversation before the
I
podcast
know,
started.
right? I'm
That's
going to ask you that question later too. Like that's how I always end the show is what do the words wellness me up mean to you? And so you can remember this. But I ask always everybody, like, what's their, like, what you did say that, like, what does wellness actually mean to you? And that's you meet people in that version. And we just literally had that conversation. We should have been fucking recording that because people would have found some really good insight. I always find that in the pre-record and then the post-record. That's where some of the good wellness shit happens.
well, that's it is, but that was some of the personal stuff too. So
It was some personal things. Yeah, there was no flies on the wall for that. But now we get to just talk about not just, but we get to talk about how you support people and all the cool shit that you get up to. So for people that don't know you, because I've known you for a couple years now, but for people that don't know you, in this podcast, I'm focusing on some pretty broad wellness topics. So spiritual wellness, relationship wellness, emotional mental health wellness, physical wellness, life transitions, identity wellness, and then financial and purpose wellness as well. So really curious, and for people that don't know you, and after all of the charcuterie of things that I listed about what you do, they might be able to guess a little bit about what you do, but really curious which area you might support people in, and then how you actually support them on that journey.
I would say it's relationships and communication. And not necessarily romantic relationships. I'm going to say interpersonal relationships. Specifically, it could be with family. I have a lot of experience with a pretty dysfunctional family dynamic, not realizing it till years later. Um, Workplace dysfunction again, and um, amongst your peers too, because friendships, whether it's guys with guys or girls with girls, there can be a lot of um, they can be difficult. Let's just say that. Um, so what I sorry, I'm moving around. I have a new office set up, so I'm just kind of getting used to the new orientation. Um, yeah, it's just a lot of the work I do and how I help my clients um, is based on a lot of the experiences I've had in terms of like unhealthy relationships. And, when my clients come to me, they're, struggling in a relationship and doing the same things over and over and trying to change the person or the situation or get someone to listen. And it's not happening. Um, who is it? Is it Einstein that says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again? thinking there would
maybe.
be a different result, something like that. I hope I didn't quote the wrong person, but anyway, that is the definition of insanity. Um, yeah, so I don't know if that quite answered enough.
Yeah, I mean, you support people through interpersonal relationships. And I like how you said, because sometimes when people think relationships, they think they automatically go to romantic relationships and
Mhm.
how to undo that. But relationships are everywhere. There's relationships, like you said, with work, there's relationships with other people, friendships, there's relationships with ourselves too, right? Like that is a big part of wellness. It's not just romantic relationships in the slightest. So that's pretty cool that you can help people across that.
Yeah, I actually, that just reminded me of something
Okay.
else. Um, the other place, what I have learned, because I don't do anything or I haven't done anything myself that I haven't, I don't do with my clients. It's also, when you said there's relationships everywhere, I'm going to say that, you know, the work I've done now helps me when I'm dealing with my hairdresser, when I'm dealing with the nail technician. Um, I won't say where I was or I was getting, what service the other day, but there was mannerisms and tones that I didn't really necessarily like. And especially, as I'm there to get a service, and I really had to call on some of my um, tools or skills not to do what I may have done years ago, and um, either said something or not said something and decided to almost begrudge myself and not go back again. So those kind of relationships too. It's, dealing with the cashier, and they're miserable. And I mean, I know I've been guilty in the past of probably like poking somebody, like when they're like that, like, do you really need to be so horrible? Like maybe you should go find a job elsewhere and blah, blah, blah. And instead going, what's that person's life like at home? Or I always, we were in the local Canadian Tire one day and asked a kid, so to speak, for directions to something. And he sort of like slugged over to us and shuffled around and was like looking down and just kind of like blew us off, so to speak. And I remember saying, I wonder if he gets bullied at school and what his life at home is like. And when we talk about how our clients are showing up in the world and meeting them in their version of the world, it's also meeting, and I know I've gone down like a weird rabbit hole here, but it's meeting strangers and realizing that, they're not where we are. And, like we read a lot of things about, you don't know what's happening with that person walking down the street. They may have just lost somebody. They may have just gotten a job, or, sorry, lost a job, ended a relationship, had a miscarriage. And Yeah, so, working with me as a coach, like those are things that come into, when the client comes in to work with me, they don't know we're going to end up opening not a can of worms, but peeling the onion back that much, that my clients become much more aware of, like, also how they're showing up in the world, not just because they came to me because there was a problem with somebody else.
Yeah, we can make a lot of assumptions about people based on our own perspectives, with how we grew up, even how our day was going. And our realities are shifted all of the time because of that. And I like that accountability piece that you did there too. Like, of course, I like that you did that. This is why we get along so well. But you said, this is how I used to be, and I used to do these things. And now you have this self-awareness of, hey, there's probably something else going on underneath the surface here, and I don't need to look at it this way. I can look at it this way. Or is there questions that I can even consider here that might be what's going on with this person? And so to ask those insightful questions, I wonder if he's being bullied at school. and ask that, a lot of people wouldn't ask those questions. They wouldn't ask what's going on. They'd be
Hmm.
like, well, that's fucking rude. Like, why are you talking to me like that? Like, come on, like this is customer service. Customer is always right. That kind of stuff. Instead of being, oh, I wonder why his demeanor is that way. I wonder what's going on there and what's happening. And when we understand other people or when we get curious about them, then we can do a little bit of shifting too with how we think, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's where all the puzzle pieces in sort of why and how I was showing up started to come together. I mean, I was looking at, you know, my, from the outside after I was estranged from my parents and one sibling, I was looking at like them and their lives before, and how they were showing up, but more why they were showing up that way. And I don't, there's that whole saying, hurt people hurt people. I'm not saying I was purposely hurt, so to speak, but you don't realize the trauma that somebody else is carrying on. And also, a lot of the work I do is with the unconscious mind. And those people are not even aware of what they're doing and how they're showing up and why. And they may never ever be. They may never be willing to look at it. And then, that's our choice at that point, whether we continue that relationship the way it is, or, go on our merry way, so to speak. Um, but yeah, I mean, doing that work and starting to, like, I again use the term peeling back the onion, and just looking at people's, we said relationships, and people's behavior too,
Yeah.
is, I don't think, a word I used, but why somebody is doing that. I always say it's not a matter of like what came first, the chicken or the egg. If you're struggling with someone and they are, officially the difficult one or the one causing the problem, we don't, I'm not saying we started, and we didn't start that, but we get sucked into it and it starts to change us. And then
Yeah, it
it's
does.
almost, um, yeah, it sort of snowballs, and then you're right in the middle of all of it. And I don't want to say you're just as to blame, but when I look at, you know, my, family situation, I developed an eating disorder at 21 or 2. And, with that came a lot of behavior that didn't make life easy for my parents or siblings. And I will take full accountability for that. Um, but there were also some places where, I didn't have the right support. And even when I was like through all of it, I really needed the emotional support. I needed the like validation. I needed someone, standing up and protecting me. And I didn't have that. I didn't realize all that till,
Mhm.
years later. But again, like I said, that's like I did play a role. I'm not out to play victim or, point fingers. I'm like, these are the facts. This is what happened to me. Why it happened is probably a direct result of things that were happening or weren't happening as I was growing up. And it snowballs.
Yeah, it does. It really does, right? Like we can't, it's impossible to point fingers without saying that we are also a part of this too. And that it's a big perspective shift that starts to happen, right? But sometimes people are like, I don't even know what it is that needs to change or how it is that I need to change or how it is to look at something different. And if anyone has followed Amanda, like what I love about your posts, you are so incredibly vulnerable with what you do share, and and it resonates hard quickly
I just got
with it's I
goosebumps.
know, but you do. It's so good. Like how you it's just such it go and read it. I can't even I won't even do it justice by trying to explain what it is that you do on your posts, but it really it just shines a light on what's going on out there, right? And then you lean into that change and that shift, that what's like what you've learned and how you're shifting and changing and growing. And you even just put out there, this might help somebody else, or this is why I'm putting this out there and saying this stuff, right? So if somebody else is out there and they're thinking, I don't know what the fuck it is that I need to change, or why am I yelling all the time? Why am I in road rage? Like I'm that person. Like I'm the road. Why am I doing this? Like why am I acting like this? How is it that you're meeting them in that moment and coaching when they find one of your posts and they send you a DM and they want to know more because of something that you've written? How is it that you're meeting them in that moment?
Well, the first thing I'd love to do is actually get them off the DM and onto like, you know, a quick call. Um, but it's, I guess, trying to figure out, you know, why they're feeling that way. And, you know, I can't remember if the word I use is how or why is it a problem? And we keep repeating, how is this a problem? How is this a problem? And, you know, the yelling or the honking or the road rage, that's just the, you know, to use a coaching term, that's just the presenting problem. What's really going on? You know, are you not being seen? Are you not being heard? Are you being overlooked? You know, are you insecure because you get a shittier car and the person that just pissed you off is some um I should probably not say that in this day and age. Anyway, someone with some shortcomings driving a sports car, making up
Mhm.
for lack of. I just went all kind of crazy. But you know, as there are lots of coaches out there. I know that. Um, I think what makes me, not that you asked, what makes me different is that I'm messy and imperfect, and there's no script. It's we sort of, you know, I mean, I have a 6-week breakthrough process where there is a process of how we go through things because, you know, coaching, unlike therapy, is goal oriented. So we're working to a goal or a solution. We're not just having a conversation about, you know, the latest thing that someone did that pissed us off, or I mean, I know I did 22 or 23 years of once a week in a psychiatrist chair. Um, Nothing against them whatsoever. And I think, you know, the field has changed and it's developed how um, um, sessions run, what so to speak. But I know what I got was someone listening, someone that was on my side, because I didn't even realize when I was sitting there that I didn't have that everywhere else. Um, and that man got me through, you know, 23 of the roughest years till one day I just graduated myself. And then that's when all the change really started to happen.
Yeah, and so therapy, it can be incredibly beneficial to get into the heavy, give you some reflections, things to ponder, but they're on your side. They're there with you. Same with coaches, right? We're there with you, we're on your side, and we're also propelling you forward into some shifts and
Well,
realizations and goals and all of those kind of things too. It's a little bit more forward, and therapy,
a
love the
little more
therapy that
challenging.
challenging. It is because it's okay, we're really changing and we're doing things. But I've had
Do
some
you, like,
incredible, yeah, go for it. Hmm.
no, I was going to say, I mean, you know, the first coach I worked with, um, and this was during COVID. And I remember it was one afternoon, and I didn't know, I had a business idea and I started working with a coach for that reason. I didn't plan on doing what I'm doing. And I it obviously was meant to get to this point. So I had a business idea. I was working with her, and I didn't realize that she was going to be doing all this like personal growth work, and that needed to kind of be done like at the same time or before getting into the business idea. Anyway, we were on the phone one day and she wanted to know what my purpose was. Um, I'm not a religious or spiritual person. I mean, now the universe is kind of I always say I follow the universe's breadcrumbs. Um, the conversation lasted about 2 hours. I don't know how many Kleenexes I went through because she kept pushing, like, what's your purpose? And I don't remember all the details of the conversation, but I finally went, I just want people to fucking be happy. And I just want to be happy. And like, that was it. And that's kind of, I think, where the whole relationship coaching people, and like, it's still evolving. Like, I just realized the other day that who I thought my ideal client was is actually not. And they're actually somebody that's like my former self. So probably 20 years younger than who I thought they were. But anyway, back to the, you know, what my purpose was. I believe deep down that people deserve to be happy, to be supported, to be loved. Um, sure, if you've done bad things, you may need to sort of earn that back, but those things should be a birthright. And, if you, maybe it's a simplistic way of looking at it, but if you look at everything going on in this world, like, if we could all show up with a little more like compassion and understanding. Unfortunately, like, one of us is going to have to do more work than the other because not everybody in the world. But if we can get more people to show up that way, maybe we can get a few of those people that are having a rough time, pull them back, bring them over to our side.
Mhm. Uh, the other day, I love that you're talking about happiness right now, because the other day was International Day of Happiness. And I get these notifications on my phone of like what it is and what's going on. And thinking about that, like, I just want other people to be fucking happy. I want my own happiness. I want other people to be fucking happy. And I kept thinking about, and I'm estranged from my family too. People that are listening are gonna be like, oh, this is why the Amandas have clicked and had been friends and figured these things out together. I was thinking about a Christmas years ago, and my estranged mother wanted to, she said, kept saying she wanted happiness for Christmas. That's all she fucking wanted, was happiness for Christmas. And somebody in the family actually gave her a box with it was an empty box, but there was just the word happiness in it. And I thought about that, and I hadn't thought about that memory in so long. And I think, with listening to you talk now and thinking about that, I just think we get to choose so much of our happy, right? And we get to choose who we're going to be, like, how we're going to be happy, how we're going to achieve these things. And there are people out here like you, Amanda, that can help people just get a little bit more if they're happy, right? So I'm so curious. Do you have another thought? And then I want to lean into
I,
this other question. Yeah, get in there.
I
Uh-huh.
do. I did a post on International Happy Day,
Okay.
International Day of Happiness, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm very cautious about being too, to use that catch term, toxic positivity. So it
Yes.
was like, it's International Day of Happiness, cool, but it's a stretch for a lot of people right now.
Fuck yeah.
So, I
Mm-hmm.
won't get into the short post, but that's one thing I also want to come to the table. Like, not, there's all these things out there to celebrate, but I realize I can post all this stuff, and I do it with the consciousness that, like, people are having bad days and shitty things are happening. So yes, I posted something because I'd made a note of it in a book, but I also wanted to make sure that, I'm not kind of going like this
Mm-hmm.
to someone that's having a really shitty day. That's all I wanted to throw in.
Yeah. Yeah, like na 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 na, like, you're having a horrible day, you're not doing well with your wellness stuff, but hey, it's happy day, and let's all be really happy with this, because that's not what's going on out there for a lot of people. They're looking behind their screens, they're terrified, they're scared, they're anxious. All of these things are happening, and it is really hard to unlock that joy and get into that feeling. Sure, there might be times of joy, but not a lot of people can get into that, right? And that's when working with a coach can really help to, like, just okay, let's move into things, right? And so when people start working with you, so they've moved out of the DMs, they've seen one of your posts, fucking amazing. They moved in the DM, they're like, I want to talk to Amanda. And now they're a client, and you start working with them on 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 the fucking happiness, on their goals, what it is that they're there for, the relationships, whether it's a work relationship, it's a romantic relationship, it's a family relationship, whatever that interpersonal relationship looks like. What is like some sort of shift or a moment or a truth bomb even that happens with your clients that starts to just propel them a little bit more forward in their wellness goals or realizations?
There's a lot of when we start working together, I think the first session is a 2-3 hour Q&A. And we dive really, really deep. And, even at the end of that, there can be some aha moments. Aha moments and truth bombs. I the coach I'm referring to, where I just want everyone to be bleeping happy. I shouldn't have been in the state where I was that distraught. I don't believe, knowing what I know now, that I was being met in my version or where I was at, because I was really new. And, I still need a gentle handler. Doesn't matter if it's a dentist or a doctor, but I do. I've got thin skin. I think I always will. Um, but like the truth bomb is like what I just sort of explained to you. It's like, what do you want to get out of this, or what do you want to change? And, like I said, the what's showing up as what seems like the problem isn't the problem. So there always is a truth bomb or an aha or a shift, or, one of the things with me, like, I didn't realize that I was showing up every day ready to do battle. And I was getting up and, as I'll say, putting on a suit of armor. I didn't know any of that. And that, only came about, that realization, after doing a lot of the work, and a lot of my, this all came out of my sorry, certificate, my training.
And there's the accountability piece there, right? Again, that you do, that I just absolutely adore when you do that stuff, because in order to help other people have those aha moments, I think what you do so eloquently is you show up with that awareness and you show up with that accountability of like, these are the things that I have learned, and these are the things that I am doing now, consciously or unconsciously, but now I'm consciously aware of doing them. And so that, I remember connecting with you years ago, and we always meet up every once in a while, and there's always things and conversations and moments that I have with you that are always surprising with me, and help me lean into a thought in a different way. So I'm wondering if you can also share like what people get most surprised by when they start working with you.
Um, by the way, I don't think I'm an eloquent speaker at all. So to use that word to
Wow.
describe me sounded really funny.
I don't,
Um,
I would disagree, because I think you are eloquent in that you keep it real, and you don't, you
that's true.
do, you keep it so real, easy to understand. You pause and you think about your thoughts. And whenever you and I have spent time together, you've always asked the most insightful questions that don't just come out of nowhere. Those come from somebody that has seen some things and knows how to find the words to ask the questions to get the answers. So I would, yeah, I would kindly disagree with you on
Okay.
maybe we need, yeah, we can operationally define eloquent, but I'm always appreciative of having conversations, and I always get surprised by something that you ask. And so I'm always just curious if there's other people when they're working with you as clients, if they also have moments of like,
Um, One of the common comments is, how easy I am to talk to. And I remember actually when I was first doing my training and I was doing case studies, um, and new at it, and being on there with like younger girls who pretty had gone through some pretty traumatic stuff. Because at the time, the case studies weren't necessarily just about relationships; it could have been all sorts of things. And at the end, it was like, I can't believe how easy you were to just like people are sharing some really intimate um, secrets and experiences. Um, and I've had a few people say to me, I don't know how you do that, like how you hold space. And um, I don't know. I guess it's something I didn't realize would kind of come naturally. I mean, I don't like to make my whole persona as, Amanda Kirkland coach, like about me, but I feel like I lost a good 20 to 30 years of like life where I was ready to do battle every day, wasn't feeling this, that, and the other. And, if I can take that 30-year-old girl that reaches out to me and get her to where I am today, not at, I don't want to even say my age at this point in time, but get them there sooner and not have them go through the fights and the struggles and the years of trying to change things and get people to see things from a different perspective, um, which half answered your question and half went off onto another tangent.
But it does, right? We can spend so much of our time trying to control situations, trying to control outcomes, trying to control relationships, our parts in connections, all of that kind of stuff. And to work with somebody that's been there, that can get it, that can understand, and can shed a light on, hey, I might know a thing or two about what you're going through. And then at the same time, just show up like, I don't know, like a cool aunt vibe almost, like a cool somebody that like just chill that you can just talk to. Cool friend, right? That's just really easy. That's it's gonna help a lot of people just feel really comfortable to be open to some
Hmm.
perspectives that might help them propel a little bit further in a situation or a connection or any of those kind of things that they're working with.
Yeah,
So that's pretty
I've
cool.
been there, done that. You know,
Yeah.
what's that saying? I've done walk the walk or talk the
Yeah, walk the
talk, or
walk, talk the
there's
talk. Exactly. Yeah, I might know a thing or two about it. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, it helps when I've been there, done that, and now, I'd like to think I'm on the other side and really have created a much happier, healthier, balanced, you know, positive energy um, life. Actually, it's funny: positive mind, positive vibes, positive life. That's
Oh,
my
come on.
and my
Yeah.
Facebook memory today was 11 years ago. Today, I got that tattoo,
I think I saw
and
that
I
story and I like
I just did a story on it today, and I was like, they were reminders at the time of
it. I was
how
like,
to sort of look forward. But when I looked at it today, it was like a reminder of how difficult the times were, like when I had that. And when I think I've been estranged 12 years now, and this was 11 years ago, I'm like, the timing. I have another one that says beautiful. And that was, I got that during a very difficult time when um, I had somebody really try to pull the rug out from underneath my personal and professional life. And I needed to remind myself, it wasn't an outside thing. It was like you're good. Anyway.
um, I did see that story and it is tattoos. I don't have tattoos, but I do love when one of the coolest classes I ever took in university was called the Decorated Body and Art. And you got to learn about why people got a tattoo or a piercing. And we got to talk about why, if we were to get one, what it would mean to us and like what would happen there with that. So it's always fascinating to hear why people get a certain tattoo and why they do it. So I don't, because I don't have a tattoo, what I do, because I like what you said there about it's a reminder, right? You get this memory or the stories that come up and it's this
Hmm.
reminder that happens. And so something I do is I put I don't think I've ever shared this with a lot of people. Don't tell anyone, okay?
Okay.
um, I put a reminder in my calendar. It could, if something has happened or if I had a conversation with somebody, or it's a big milestone event in my life, whether it was an estrangement, I made the decision to do something, whether it was the going through the cancer things, any of that stuff, I put a fucking reminder in my calendar and I put the year as well. So that way I can look back and when that comes up and I think, holy shit, it's been 7 years that I'm like a non-smoker, or it's 7 years that this happened, or 10 years, yeah, that like I made this choice. And so I wonder if maybe I'll start leveling up and try to put, instead of just doing a memory, like putting it in my note, I'll do like
A
what the
post or
tattoo
a
or an image or a post, exactly. Do a post about it.
it's funny because I do exactly what you do.
Do you?
I get laughed at all the time. I am an anniversary person. Like
Yeah.
the day that the eating disorder, I think that was February 26th. It made 26 years or something like that. Relationship anniversaries, estrangement anniversaries, like I've first date with somebody, like things like that. And it's even, deaths and saying goodbye, and you know, um I'm like a laughing stock. It's like, can you come up with one more reason to, like, I joke now that like my not engaged engagement ring, I'm like, the other day I was like, oh, it's 3 months old today. Actually, it's 3 months old on Wednesday.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so we're not alone. Like, and it's nice because you get to look back and you get to reflect and think about who you were back then when that was happening, why you made a certain choice, any of that. I don't know if it like it's maybe not so bizarre then, but that's like getting into my diary. Actually, even I was telling you before the show, what I'm doing now is I'm making a blog post for every single
Hmm.
episode. And the first blog I wrote for it, I spent so much time journaling the other night, and I used to throw out my diaries when I was younger. I had somebody read it once in my family. It was my biological sister, and I was mortified. And I never wanted people to know what I was thinking or my inner thoughts or any of that shit. So I fucking got rid of all my journals and I just started keeping everything inside. Like I didn't have that outlet or doing that stuff, right? So maybe the reminders and the anniversaries just bring something up for me. It's like this diary
Hmm.
entry. So yeah. You're giving me, see, this is what we do. We have all these moments together, and then I think, God, this is why I fucking do this stuff. Oh my gosh. And with anniversaries and with decisions that we make in our life, this is, and I'm gonna bring this into like this is the part of the podcast that I'm really loving the most, because we don't know at the end of today, you might put in a reminder from something today. We don't know what could happen about today in our phones. You might go get a tattoo about it. We don't know what could happen. And life is fucking random. It's absurd. It's human, like all of this stuff. And I love that quote about wellness isn't linear, because it's not. It's a big blue, 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 like freaking blah
Well, life
mess.
is
Yeah,
life is not a straight line.
it's not. So I love this. So I'm calling it like a WTF, like wellness is not linear wheel. Maybe I'll find something a little bit more easier to say at that one point, but wellness is not linear. So what I do is I'm going to share screen. I'm going to spin this fucking wheel, and I actually get ChatGPT to come up with some questions for us. So we don't answer, but a robot is going to choose the question. And we could be talking about something very deep, like we just did with our tattoos, with memories in our phone, any of that kind of stuff. Or I don't know, maybe because I haven't eaten, but I'm thinking about food. And so we could be thinking about like pizza topping. I don't know. We could be thinking about like, why is somebody's
Oh my
pizza?
God, I'm
Yeah,
scared. I
I don't
feel
even know.
like,
I don't even know what we could be talking about. Like, why are we doing an analysis based on, like if somebody says pineapple doesn't go on pizza, why are we talking about their energy? I don't know what's going to happen. So we'll see. But I'm going to spin this freaking wheel and see what happens, and then we're going to answer the question and see what
uh-oh,
goes
I'm
on.
scared.
It's fun. It's fun. Everybody's loving it. It's hilarious. Okay, I'm going to share this, and can you see it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to click this button here and see which one of these 6 questions we're going to answer. Okay, what's a belief about wellness that you used to hold that you now laugh at? What is a belief about wellness that you used to hold that you now laugh at? My gosh, the giggling. I'm going to be thinking about this for a second. What's a belief about wellness you used to hold that you now laugh at? Something that makes us giggle and laugh. What's a belief about wellness that you used to hold that you now laugh at?
Um,
You got one?
yoga is the first thing that pops into my head.
Okay. Why?
Um, well, I laugh because I'm like a complete yogi now. And I just think I thought yoga was for other people, and I couldn't be in that. Like when I first started practicing yoga, like the shavasana's, like the silence, like my mind wouldn't turn off. And I look at, I guess it was the stereotype I maybe had about who was doing yoga, and I laugh now because that's like me, and I never thought I'd be part of a couple of amazing yoga communities and have met some wonderful people as a result. So I don't know if that qualifies for an answer, but that's what I
Yeah.
have right now. First thing that
Yeah.
came to mind.
It totally does, right? Because we can look at something. I remember doing that too when I was younger, looking at people and being like, why the fuck are you doing something like that? Like, why are you going out there and doing this? Makes no sense. And then all of a sudden we start doing it and we're like, oh, I like this. Like, I actually love this. That's even like when I think back, like with something like as simple as walking and going for a walk. Like that's something that I used to laugh at people for doing. I'm like, why would people just go for a walk or go marinate in a forest or go for a hike? Like, what are you doing? And now
Hug
it's
a
my
tree.
favorite thing.
Yeah.
Hug a tree, right? Like, why are you doing that when you could just be like hanging out, watching Netflix or doing whatever else? Or we didn't have Netflix back then, but throughout my whole life, I was just thought walking was just a big joke. But it was also like I couldn't walk. I couldn't do those things back then. And now I can. So I'm like, oh my gosh, please get me out into a forest right now. Like I need to go and do this. So I hear you. So with yoga, yeah, we used to laugh about doing these things, and now we're like, yes, please. When's the next yoga
Yep.
class? So when am I going to that? And what's going? Yoga is so nice, and I like yoga because there's. I used to think of yoga as I would never be able to do some of the. I used to use that language. I could never do this. I can never get into these poses. But there's yoga classes out there that are just really, really gentle stretches. It's like having a nap. Like literally, you just cuddle into one of these big body pillows that they have and you're napping. It's so nice to just
Yeah.
stretch. It's
And
good.
what you say about the poses, I mean, one of my teachers consistently says it's yoga, it's not yoga perfect, it's yoga practice. So even just
Ah,
showing up on the mat, I do power classes, I do classes restorative like you're talking about, I do bar classes. So there's something for everyone. Anyway, not on here to sell the virtues of that. That's just
mm. It's just one other thing. One other thing though that you do. But yeah, that's why I like that question because we don't know what we're going to end up talking about. I don't know what we're going to lean into with that. It's a fun question. So thank you very much to our robot assistant for coming up with that and the creators of ChatGPT. Love it. We're talking about yoga and walking. Okay, so then last question. I always end with this, but I know like I'll end with this question, but then I do want to come back and just if there's because whenever I know nobody could hear the conversation we were having before the pre-recording, then there's going to be the post-recording, and you're gonna be like, fuck, I wish I had said that too. Like, why didn't that happen? So I'll get to that in just a second. But before I do, I'm going to come back to that wellness question from the beginning. And so at the beginning, we talked about how you just meet people in the versions of themselves, but very specifically, the name of the show, what does Wellness Me Up mean to you in your own words?
Getting to a place where energetically you can feel at peace and, know that you're good and supported and not wrong and not the problem all the time. So, you know, even getting myself to that place where I still do have a go-to. It was my fault, or I did something wrong, or I'm the problem, and that's still patterns and stuff you try to break, but the awareness is there. So, I mean, the wellness part too is like awareness, like aware me up too. And awareness is like the first, I don't know if there's like some important person that said it, but I mean, awareness is one of the first steps of moving forward and changing things, in my opinion.
I would have to agree with that. In order to have, in order to move through a lot of things, you need to get real with yourself and you need to have awareness. You need to drop the mask. You need to, where am I showing up? How am I showing up? What's happening? You
Yeah.
actually need to have that perspective, because then if you don't have awareness, how then can you start taking accountability and how can you start shifting and changing and realizing where you're going if you aren't even able to own it, like own
Hmm.
what's going on. I think awareness is a huge part of it. Yeah, I really do. I love that question so much because everybody always gives such a different answer, and
I wasn't sure how I was going to answer that. I looked at
I know.
these beforehand, and
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. We'll have a conversation and it's going to it can shift, and wellness can change. Because look at us years ago, we might have thought wellness was something different in our lives. Our 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old selves was wellness was so different. And now what we're doing now for ourselves and wellness is different. So, and I always like to give permission to just pivot and change at any point, because I don't know, maybe I'm the person that likes to walk in the forest, but maybe tomorrow I'm the person that likes to walk at the beach. And I've always said I don't like the beach, but maybe I want to start walking on the beach. You don't know. You can change what you
yeah,
enjoy and you can change what you want to lean into with any of the wellness stuff. And yeah, so and you can
and
work
you
with a
can you can
coach.
also, yeah, and you can also change your mind about, you know, relationships and friendships and jobs and etc. So
Yeah.
you're allowed to change your mind too.
Yeah. And I think that's thank you for saying that, because it's fucking terrifying to change our minds and to do that stuff, to think that we can. I remember going through that with family and working with somebody back when and be like, I don't know how it is I'm going to fucking do this, but I know I need to do it. And I don't know how it is I'm going to do this. But to give ourselves permission and to have awareness about why it is that we're doing this, and then say, I can choose something differently for myself, you can.
Hmm.
And you don't need to explain it to anybody or have it be like understood by anybody else. It's just, I'm allowed to do this. I always like to say, like, I just live life like an alpaca and I'll just do whatever the fuck I want to do, because alpacas do whatever they want to do. So, like, they have a lot of fun. So, yeah, you can just change things. And so, okay, I know at the end of this, people are going to wish that they could talk and hear what we're going to say after this podcast when I hit end record. But before I hit end record, is there anything else that you want people to just learn about you, about your coaching services, any of that good stuff?
Um, I think if somebody's, listened to the end, or, my energy they feel some connection or drawn to me. I'm on social media, Amanda Kirkland Coach. It's pretty straightforward. Website, theamandakirkland.com. As is typical with all of us, I'm going to say, 30-minute call. Hop on, see where you're at, see where you want to go, see if we, have any synchronicity or vibes, for lack of a better word. And explore what the opportunities are. I've got group packages, I've got one-on-one packages. um, I've got some one-offs, which is some forgiveness work. And again, coachy terms, releasing limiting beliefs, negative emotions. But there's bits of that on my website, but more than anything, it's just the first step is just like hop on a call, and see where you're at, and if you're ready to start moving forward, because not everybody is, and you may not be listening while you're listening to this, but the fact that you're listening to it also means that at some point you may want to jump in and start trying to make some changes in your life.
Thank you for that. And thank you very, very much for hanging out with me today and being here and just sharing some of you. Now I've and I know you're out there and you're doing your thing, and I get a little bit of the inside edition and things, but I'm really excited that I'm really thankful that we are in one another's orbits, and that other people get to experience you and work with you.
Thank you. And this was fun as always.
Always.
Hopefully we'll be able to do the next in person when you are back on soil.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where I end up soon. That's the beauty of doing these remotely. I'm like, maybe one day there'll be an in-person one, so I could start doing that. But until then, I'll be doing this around the world with so many people. You should. Oh, it's so
What?
good.
I've done 2 in-person ones, and I actually kind of like the Zoom ones
Do you?
because you get to meet. Well, I did close to almost 50 over the course of 18 months, and last year I kind of was, I don't know, changing directions a bit, lots going on, and I didn't really focus on them. But I was like all over the world, like different countries, different time zones. It was pretty cool. So I did my first one this year 2 weeks ago. You're my second, and yeah, it's something that I'd like to sort of put on my agenda to make an effort to get a couple, at least one in a month.
It's really good. You just literally get on a call and you just hit record. So it's really easy to do, and it helps other people get that little bit of help and that happiness or perspective that they're looking for too, which is, why we're
And
doing
knowing that
this.
they're not the only one.
They're not the only one. No, you're not the only one. You're not the only one listening in. You're not the only one on the other end of the screen being like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life. Like, you're not the only one. So yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mwah.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. There is another episode of Wellness Me Up. Here is to getting you a little bit more wellnessed up. And I hope you all have a really meaningful day. We will catch you again soon.